D2 Imposter Sting live here, along with Rip Imposter Sting Tides, yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to WCW.
Yes, and this week we're reviewing your choice, which was WCW's Halloween Havoc 1997.
Yep.
Which took place on October 26, 1997 in Las Vegas, Nevada at the MGM Grand Arena, or MGA Grand Garden Arena, with an attendance of 12,457 unfortunate people.
Yes.
They had to witness a WCW event.
Yeah.
And the commentators for this event were Tony Schiavone, Bobby Heenan, Mike Tenay, and Dusty Rhodes.
Yep.
Now, I ain't gonna color code this stuff. I'm gonna tell you exactly how I felt about each and every single one of these matches. Because let's face it, WCW was slowly going on a downhill spiral, but there was one hidden gem from this show that's still talked about today.
Yeah. The only one that will probably get a high grade for our fucking thing.
Yeah. Anyway, the show opened up with the opening high package featuring the main event, which was Piper and Hogan 3, as they called it, in a steel cage match. And the championship was not, and the WCW belt that Hogan had was not on the line, but we'll discuss that later.
It was, and then they just decided not to after.
Maybe in the weeks leading up.
Piper won.
Yeah, maybe in the weeks leading up to it on Nitro, they advertised this as a title match, but at the last minute decided, nah, it's non-title.
No, it was still a title match. Then they decided at the very end of the show, or on Nitro that next week, that it wasn't for the title.
Yeah. Anyway, the show opened up with Tony Schiavone, Bobby Heenan, and Dusty Rhodes talking about the matches on this card, advertising it. They were talking for like what felt like freaking 10 years before the opening match even took place. This was common for WCW, whether it was a Nitro, a Thunder, or a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And the first match was Yuji Nagata with Sonny Ono. I probably butchered that. I don't care. Taking on Ultimo Dragon in the opening contest.
It's Nagato.
What? It's like I'm terrible.
Yuji Nagato and Sonny Ono versus Ultimo Dragon.
Yes. Well, you would know how to pronounce those names, Weeb.
It's not. It's very easy to pronounce.
But anyway, but this match wasn't really built as Dragon taking on Nagata. Was really Dragon taking on, having this rivalry with Sonny Ono, the manager here at this point.
Yes. They even said it was more of a wrestler versus
the manager,
their coach, the manager,
or former manager, or, whatever it was.
And Nagato was Sonny Ono's hired assassin.
Yeah. Anyway, both men started out sizing each other up, the feeling out process. And Nagata did manage to grab a wrist lock on Dragon, but Dragon got to the ropes. And then he put him in a headlock and hit a shoulder block, which Dragon sold like you on 2K. And he followed it up with one of his own, sending Nagato down. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then Dragon ended up kicking his leg out from under it. Dragon knocked Nagato's leg out from under it, sending him down. And but then they gotta fight it back. Threw Dragon into the corner, but Dragon jumped up for the headstand and then hit a drop kick. This opening sequence was very quick for these two cruiserweights.
Yes.
Yeah, and then Dragon took him down again, or took Nagata down again with a kick to the chest, and then comes off, and then he freaking came off the ropes, only to be met with a sleeper hold. Like he was going for like a flying move, and then got caught in a sleeper hold. Yeah, and Nagata keeps the pressure on, and actually kept the pressure on, wearing Dragon down with a sleeper hold and other submission holds.
Yeah. Well, he was known for his submission moves more than his technical moves.
Of course, Dragon eventually countered, and then got another headlock into a suplex on Nagata, which took both men down. Which I thought was a good counter.
Yeah.
Of course, Nagata got back on his feet first, and then proceeded to hit a bunch of kicks on Dragon, and then when Dragon was on, put him in a sleeper hold or submission hold again.
Yep.
And he lets. Yeah, but then afterwards he just let go and went back to stomp, and then continued to stomp down on Dragon's back, keeping the momentum up in his corner.
Yep.
And then Nagata actually hit a pile driver on Dragon for a 2 count. And then Nagata continued to keep the momentum by continuing the assault, leaving Dragon down. Right?
Yeah. Well, he also wrenched his arm on the turnbuckles.
Yep.
Knowing the Ultimo Dragon had bone spurs in his arm from his elbow.
Yep. Then later on, after all that, a little later on, Nagata hit some kicks to the chest, but afterwards, Dragon was able to reverse one of them and hit a dragon screw on Nagata. And then afterwards, he threw Nagata on the outside and over the top. Right?
Yeah.
Which I don't even know why that wasn't a disqualification, because throwing people over the top rope in WCW always led to a DQ. Don't ask me why, that was just one of the rules. Right?
Yes, but they wanted the match to continue. Because every match was supposedly going to be a DQ because everyone was going over the fucking top rope.
Yeah. Yeah, but Nagata then freaking countered all of that by kicking Dragon to the midsection. And then we saw Raven and his flock members had made their way down to the ring and sat in the crowd.
Yeah.
I don't even know why we're pointing out they never got involved in any of the matches. They just sat there and watched.
Well, they were showing how Raven had a bunch of followers.
Yep. Of course, it was at this point where Dragon hit an Asai moonsault to the outside. And he threw Nagata back into the ring. And he put him in the corner. And he threw him into the corner, of course. Nagata fights back and hit an elbow on Dragon as he was charging into him in the corner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Nagata put Dragon onto the top rope, but Dragon reversed whatever attempt he was doing on the top rope into a powerbomb for a 2 count, near fall. It's like Dragon then slammed him down and climbed up to the top to hit a moonsault. And he got another 2 count after that. Dragon then hit Nagata with the chops to the chest, and then he put Nagata on the top rope. But gets dropped throat first onto the rope. Right?
Yeah.
You know the ending was near at this point. And of course, Nagata takes advantage with some shots to the head and a kick to the back after that. And then Dragon got suplexed by Nagia for a 2 count. Right.
Yeah.
And then freaking Nagia puts his submission move on Dragon, the Nagia lock. I guess that was his finishing submission hold, but Dragon got to the ropes. And then Nagia went for a powerbomb, but Dragon slid out and put him into a Dragon sleeper. Now, you would think, okay, this match going back and forth, Dragon's going to win that, but no. Nagia gets to the ropes to break the hold, rope break, but then gets taken down again by an enziguri from Dragon.
Nagato,
Nagato, whatever. Right. Whatever. Dragon hit some kicks on him, and kicks and put him up on the top rope, and he put Nagato on the top rope again. And he hit a Frankensteiner on him, but injures his arm, and he doesn't make the cover right away, or Dragon got injured at some point after this. And then Dragon tried to put Nagato in the sleeper hold, but Nagato reverses it into an armbar, and Dragon taps out immediately.
Yep. And it's not over that, folks. At the end of the match, Nagato holds Ultimo Dragon's arm and has Sonny Ono freaking thrust kick his arm.
Yep. So the winner was Yogi Nagato, or Yoga Nagato, or however you pronounce them. I'm terrible with Japanese names. I'm sorry if I kept butchering the shit out of it. But anyway, your thoughts on this cruiserweight match?
It was good.
I mean, it was good. I thought it was good, but I've seen Ultimo Dragon compete in better matches than this, but it was good for what it was. It served its purpose for this show.
It was good for a WCW match.
And with the ending, it kind of furthered the storyline between Dragon and Ono at that point.
Yes.
Meaning that the war between wrestler and manager is not over.
Nope.
And then after the match, after the attack, Tony Schiavone on commentary goes, he said he broke his arm. He broke his arm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. Of course, after that, we go backstage and we saw Disco Inferno talking to the WCW.com online crew, talking about his match with Jacqueline, and even saying, women should not even be in a wrestling ring. They should be where they belong. Oh my God, that would not be a freaking joke to say in 2024. Of course, that's when Jacqueline interrupted him and started beating the shit out of him backstage.
I thought the match was funny as fuck.
Hyping their WCW Television Championship match, apparently. Right. No, the next match on the card after that featured Chris Jericho, Lionheart Chris Jericho, someone we're familiar with on these review shows.
Yes.
Taking on Ghetto.
Ghetto.
Ghetto. I suck with names.
It's Ghetto.
Fine, Ghetto.
That's literally his name, was Ghetto.
Ghetto, fine. I'll friggin' remember that thing about the ghettos then, okay? Jeez. That's how I remember that one's name, not that it really matters. We don't review WCW shows that much.
Well, we don't even see him wrestle. That's the only time.
But we are familiar with Jericho, though, and his work.
Yes.
And this was Ghetto's WCW debut. How fun, right?
Yes.
And this match started with both of them locking up, with Ghetto getting the early advantage. And Jericho quickly recovers after that. And then Jericho hits some kicks to the chest and takes Ghetto down to the mat. He's really working on the Ghettos, isn't he? Sorry, I have to make these jokes to make this crappy match that I see not sound worse than what it was. We'll get to that good match.
Because it was a bonus match, which wasn't really supposed to happen, but they had to put in something because they were arguing with Bischoff and Hogan leaving, wanting to leave and all that shit.
Yep. Yeah, and then Jericho rolled Ghetto, and then Ghetto rolled to the outside to regroup, while Jericho just sits there and just looks on, letting it happen, right?
And then they were also saying that Ghetto and Jericho know each other very well because they were wrestling, they were tag team partners in Japan, and they also became rivals in the J Cup in Japan.
Yeah. Yeah, and that may be true, but I've never heard of this Ghetto person before. And if I did, it was probably from this event a long, long time ago, and I just erased it out of my memory.
Well, like I said, there wasn't very many matches with Ghetto.
At least here in the States. Maybe in Japan he was well known over there, but not here.
He's more known in Japan for his trios team.
Yep. Yeah, and then Jericho kicks him. Yeah, and then Jericho ended up kicking him, kicks him, coming back in, and hits an elbow to the Ghetto's head.
Yes.
And then Jericho hits a delayed vertical suplex, and the crowd is just going crazy for this move. Yeah, I think like a big vertical suplex or a superplex on top rope was considered like a move to get fans excited.
Yeah.
Nowadays, those are just common expected moves, right?
Yeah.
You gotta put yourself in the mindset in 97. What did fans really expect? Right?
Yeah.
And then Jericho went for the cover after that suplex, but only got a 2 count. Then Jericho continued to work Ghetto over on the ropes, and he hit chops to Ghetto's chest and took him down with a shoulder tackle.
Yep.
And then Ghetto tried to fight back and tried to send Jericho to the outside, but Jericho skins the cat, as in we know the skinning the cat move, where he just pulls himself back over the top rope.
Well, yeah, the announcers also saying, "Oh, that's technically a disqualification."
But Ghetto ended up clotheslining him over the top rope anyway, sending Jericho to the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, then back in the ring, Ghetto sends Jericho into the ropes and hits a power slam for a 2 count. Right?
Yep.
Then Ghetto keeps in control by, wearing down Jericho and trying to win the match again. Also, but each time it was a 2 count.
Yeah.
Then Ghetto actually decided, I'm gonna put Jericho in a sleeper hold. But Jericho dropped down, breaking the hold, which is something we don't see very often. Of how to
went down to his knee to grab the guy's feet to break the hold.
Yep. Yeah, then afterwards, Jericho hit Ghetto with a big clothesline. Right?
Yep.
And then Ghetto also hit. Yeah, and then Jericho hit. Following that, Jericho hit Ghetto with 2 power bombs and made the cover for a 2 count. So it's like, whoa. So it's like, okay. Yeah. And then Jericho then put Ghetto to the top rope and slaps him in the face before coming up and hitting a Frankensteiner. Now, this Frankensteiner looked botched, or Ghetto tried to freaking reverse it. I don't know what, but
he was supposed to hit a super Frankensteiner, but Ghetto reversed it right in the middle of the landing.
Yeah, and that landing looked nasty, with Jericho landing on his stomach and Ghetto landing on top of Jericho on his back.
Yes.
And I don't know if it was botched or countered, but either way, it looked nasty.
No, it was countered. It was reversed.
Yeah, but then Jericho did actually recover and came over to the ropes for a splash, but was met with a drop kick from Ghetto.
Yeah.
Then Ghetto went for a chop, but missed. And then Jericho then tried to come back, tried to make a comeback. And then Ghetto went for a missile dropkick, but Jericho pushes him down to the mat, thus reversing the dropkick attempt. And Jericho put freaking Ghetto not in the walls of Jericho, but the Lion Tamer.
Well, that's what it was. That's what it was called before. Even in WWE, he called it the Lion Tamer. And then when he got older, he renamed it the Walls of Jericho.
But it was a foregone conclusion because shortly after Jericho actually put Ghetto in the Lion Tamer, Ghetto tapped out. Thus making the winner
Jericho. Because Jericho freaking literally did what he normally does now. He literally put the knee in the back of the damn head.
Yeah, but there's no getting out of that one, and you'll be in a lot of pain. So, of course, Ghetto tapped out, meaning the winner by submission was Jericho.
Yes.
Your thoughts on this match between Jericho and Ghetto?
It was okay. It was decent.
It's not the best Jericho match I've ever seen, and it was the only Ghetto match I remember seeing. Thus, by default, making it the best Ghetto match.
Yeah, well, one of his tag team partners in Japan was called Jetto.
Yep.
Or Jatto.
Thought it was all right.
Jetto and Jatto.
Yep. I thought it was all right for what it was, but, not the best Jericho match. It ain't the worst either, but it was like, it felt like on average.
Yeah.
Backstage, Mean Gene Okerlund did an interview with Deborah McMichael and asked her about the match she has coming up where a mystery opponent is facing her husband, Steve McMichael.
He is.
And if Mongo or Steve McMichael wins, Deborah is fired. And as soon as Steve McMichael heard his name, Steve Mongo McMichael is what you call him. He came into frame in the dressing room and pretty much yelled at Deborah to give him back everything she had given him, or that he had given her, right? And Deborah said she'd earned everything.
Ring.
Yeah.
Her credit cards.
The ring, the credit card, everything. And Deborah said she earned everything she had, and he can't take that away from her.
Yep.
Just think, about a year after this, Deborah would leave WCW to go to WWE. And and at one point she would be the real life wife of Steve Austin, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So we head back to the ring for the next match on the card, and this one is the match of the night that everyone keeps talking about to this day. And that's Eddie Guerrero defending the Cruiserweight Championship against Rey Mysterio Jr., commonly now known as Rey Mysterio.
Yes.
In a title versus mask match, with the stipulation being if Rey wins, he wins the Cruiserweight title. If Rey loses, he loses his mask.
It was his ninth mask versus title match.
Mask versus mask, mask versus title. This is the ninth time his mask was up on the line in this matchup.
Yes.
And obviously being victorious in the first 8.
Yes.
And during the match, I gotta say this now, during the match, they briefly talked about Eddie Guerrero competing under a mask known as Tiger Mask, but unlike most luchadors of that time period, Eddie Guerrero voluntarily took his mask off, and his career flourished after that anyway, as we all know.
Well, he was Tiger Mask in Japan, Black Tiger Mask in Japan, and he was El something in Mexico when he was wrestling, and then what they say, he disgraced the tradition of unmasking himself.
And of course, they say that most people, when they take the mask off, their careers kind of plummet, with some notable exceptions being Conan and Eddie Guerrero.
Yes.
And we know the legendary status Eddie Guerrero has to this day.
Well, if you know the legendary status of what Conan and Eddie Guerrero have.
Yep. Conan may have not been known for his work in WWE, but he was known for his work in WCW.
Well, he did a little bit in WWE, and then he had a falling out.
Yeah.
He did a lot more in WCW than in WWE, yes.
I mean, when people think of Conan wrestling, they think of probably WCW first, before any other organization that he was in. Anyway, the match got started with both exchanging blows to start the match, or, punches left and right. And that all happened before Mysterio hit an arm drag and a drop kick that sent Eddie to the outside of the ring. And Mysterio teased hitting a splash to the outside, but Guerrero pulls his feet out from under him and he sent Mysterio hard into the steel steps at ringside.
Well, also Ray was the lightest cruiserweight of their division.
Ray was only 170 pounds at this point, maybe 165 pounds.
I think he was 156 pounds.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I mean, Rey Mysterio is no heavyweight. Even to this day, he's still under 200.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Rey Mysterio back then was doing these freaking great matches. In his private life, he was secretly raising Dirty Dom. But that's not neither here nor there.
He was raising the Eddie Guerrero from Wish.
Yes. And as we know at this point, in October of 96, we all know Dirty Dom was only, 6 months old? Not that matters. I'm only pointing that out because Dom is a wrestler now. But we're not talking. But we're getting off topic here. We're going to be rambling. This might be another 2-hour review like last week. That is right. If we keep rambling. But Mysterio was sent hard into the steel steps by Guerrero before Guerrero slid him back into the ring. And Eddie then hit the Guerrero senton from the inside of the ring back to the inside of the ring. And Guerrero at this point was in total control of the match. Eddie then hit a vicious uppercut and sent Mysterio into the ropes. But Guerrero was then met with a drop kick to the head. And Rey Mysterio tried to mount an offense that didn't last too long. And then Guerrero did counter that little bit of offense with a belly-to-back suplex.
Yeah, well, he also reversed Rey Mysterio's attempt from doing a arm drag and reverse it into a freaking backbreaker.
Yep. And we'll get
when I saw that, I'm like,
we're gonna get to those spots in a second. I think that's why this match is so legendary, because of spots like that. Then Guerrero then hit a delayed suplex for a 2 count. After Guerrero went for the pin after that, Mysterio kicked out. Then Guerrero then hit a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker for another 2 count. And then Guerrero picked Mysterio up and put him in the abdominal stretch while Guerrero was pulling on the mask.
Yes.
Keep in mind that the outfit Rey Mysterio had on was a complete one-piece set, including with the mask obviously stitched on.
Yes, because Eddie was known for tearing off his mask.
Which now that outfit's become legendary now with Mysterio because of this match.
Yes.
But then Eddie Guerrero shortly afterwards turned the abdominal stretch into the backbreaker, and Mysterio's down and out in the world of pain.
Yes.
Then Eddie went for another cover for another 2 count. And then Mysterio was able to get back to his feet, and Mysterio hit a DDT to Guerrero, and Mysterio then sent Guerrero to the outside with a drop kick.
Yep.
And then Guerrero's...
And he also did a somersault head Hurricane Rana.
Yep. Of course, Eddie Guerrero then slid back into the ring before Mysterio can dive out onto Guerrero. Then Guerrero then hit a drop kick that sent Mysterio to the outside of the ring anyway. Right?
Yep.
And then Guerrero threw Mysterio into the guardrail before rolling him back of the ring, causing damage.
Yep.
And at this point, the crowd were into it, chanting the Guerrero sucks chants, because you gotta remember, Mysterio was the face, Guerrero was the heel during this match. And then Guerrero locked in a chin lock on Mysterio, which then afterwards he proceeded to rip the mask off some more.
Yep.
Causing that famous rip mask tear we see from that outfit Mysterio has. Right?
Yes.
And then after Guerrero broke the hold, he picked Mysterio up to try to go for the gory special, only to get hit with an arm drag.
Yep.
And then Guerrero then quickly snuffed him, and then Guerrero quickly countered with a drop kick and another backbreaker before starting to stretch him out again. Stretch Mysterio out again with another wear down submission hold.
Yep.
Yeah, but then Mysterio was able to get back to his feet, but was quickly taken back down with a back kick by Guerrero. I mean, Mysterio can't even catch a break. It was mostly Guerrero dominating at this point.
It was a one-side domination.
And then Guerrero went to work on Rey Mysterio in the corner and hit some punches and chops to Mysterio's head. But then Mysterio reversed it and started hitting Guerrero back, trying to build offense for himself. But that was thwarted because as soon as he started doing that, Guerrero then thrown Mysterio into the corner and hit a drop kick to Mysterio's head.
Yeah.
And then Guerrero freaking put Rey Mysterio up on the top rope and put him in the tree of woe position.
Yep.
And then Guerrero went charging from one corner to the corner where Mysterio was hanging at, presumably to do a drop kick to Mysterio's head, but Mysterio freaking sat up, and Guerrero was a
dick. And he hit his Guerreros.
Yes, and Eddie was a dick to his own Guerreros when he went crotch first into the post. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, the first big mistake by Guerrero in this matchup, which gave Mysterio an opening.
Yep.
And then Guerrero went to the outside, and Mysterio came out from the top, jumped up from the top rope with a flying. Came out with a flying right behind Guerrero, hitting Guerrero in the process on the outside. Right? And then Mysterio ended up putting Eddie back into the ring and hit a Hurricane Rana only for a 2 count. You gotta realize the Hurricane Rana was kind of Rey Mysterio's finisher at this point. Right?
Yeah.
Of course, Guerrero's the first one up after the Hurricane Rana, and he took Mysterio down with a clothesline. Then Mysterio then battled back and hit a head scissors that sent Guerrero back to the outside. And then came at him with another Hurricane Rana up to the floor. I mean, this match was fire at this point.
Yeah.
Things were picking up. And once those two got back in the ring, Mysterio came off the top rope with a corkscrew, which got him a 2 count. Went for the... Yep. And then Mysterio then went up to the top rope, went for the springboard moonsault, but Guerrero got his knees up. Right? And then then Guerrero then hit Mysterio with a massive powerbomb. He went for the cover, but got a 2 count in the process. And then Guerrero picked Mysterio up, put him in the corner and charged him in the corner, but Mysterio reversed and dropped him on the ropes. Then Mysterio hit a drop kick and came off the rope for his finisher, but Guerrero reversed into a backbreaker catching Mysterio midair with a backbreaker.
Yeah, and again, I'm like, ooh!
That looked like it fucking hurt.
God, it hurts.
There's no soft way to land on someone's knee from when you're flying in the air like that.
Yeah.
No wonder Mysterio had so many back problems and knee problems. Probably due to shit like this when he was younger.
Well, he literally landed on fucking Eddie's ball point of the fucking knee.
Yeah. And then Guerrero then lifted Mysterio to the top rope, crouched him on the top rope, right? And then the two did some, exchange some blows back and forth up there, and then Guerrero eventually got the momentum when he freaking lifted Mysterio up to go for, a super razor's edge from the top rope, but Mysterio countered it into a Hurricane Rana from the top rope and picked up the win. And won the Cruiserweight Championship.
Yep. And then he was celebrating, and Eddie still attacked him from behind.
Yes, after a great match, Eddie Guerrero had to keep his heel heat running by attacking Mysterio on the outside, Mysterio after the matchup, but that doesn't take away from how great the match was.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying that after the match, Rey Mysterio was celebrating, and then, true to Eddie fashion, he attacked him anyways.
Yes. And here's a little insider report that I've known for years. Eddie Guerrero actually named this match with Mysterio as his personal favorite that he wrestled in.
Yeah.
And also originally, from what, if the rumors do be believed, the original plan for this match was for Eddie to actually win to retain and for Rey Mysterio to unmask, but Eddie Guerrero protested the win, saying the mask meant more to Rey Mysterio than what they understood.
Well, not to drag on the review or anything, in Lucha Libre, the mask is the most important thing to the luchador.
Yes. So yeah, Eddie Guerrero got the match changed with Mysterio getting the win here, which I believe is true because it was a few weeks later on Nitro where Eddie got his win back and won the champion cruiserweight title back after this event.
Yeah.
But still unchanged the fact that this match is a classic and the match of the night on this card.
Yep.
Now we go from an all-time high back to the lows. Yeah, and then after the match, Gene Okerlund was spotted on the top of the ramp doing another interview, and he was advertising the WCW hotline, right?
Yes.
And he was talking about a big name jumping ship to WCW in the near future. You gotta think, this was October of 97. Literally a few weeks away from what happened in WWE at this time period.
Yeah.
So I think the big scoop Gene was on was saying that the big name to jump ship to WCW was Bret Hart.
Yeah. The Montreal screw job.
And of course, Gene had the scoop, and he goes, yeah, we talk about it to the next pay-per-view, which the next WCW pay-per-view took place after the WWE's 1996 or 7 Survivor Series. Right?
Yep.
And at that point, Bret Hart would have officially signed with WCW. But Gene and Tony shared an awkward exchange before they went to the back about it. And I'm just thinking, okay, that just reminded me about all the wasted potential that Bret Hart had in WCW.
Yep.
After this, we were also freaking still backstage with Hogan and Bischoff talking.
Yeah.
And in front of like a big giant NWO banner doing their whole NWO promo. Basically saying that, Eric Bischoff saying that Hogan is not going to be competing tonight in this match unless Sting is not in the building, period, and will not interfere. That's basically the gist of it.
Hogan and Bischoff were scared.
Yeah, you're saying Hogan and Bischoff were scared. Anyway, the next match on the card was Steve Mondo McMichael taking on a mystery opponent, which was managed by Deborah McMichael, which that mystery opponent ended up being the big Bratwurst King himself, Alex Wright. Which we all know you were happy for.
Nope.
You want some of his German sausage, don't you?
I know you do.
We know when it came to WCW, he was your boy, along with Glacier.
No. They were your boys.
I know.
You want his big, meaty sausage in your mouth.
It's like, no. We all know you want the freaking German bratwurst while freaking chilling at Casa del Frosty Balls.
No.
I know I'm a fool. But yeah, Alex Wright was Steve McMongol's mystery opponent. Now this match is like Steve McMichael at this time really didn't have a whole lot of experience, and he was still kind of green despite wrestling for over a year at this point, and it kind of showed.
Yeah.
But Alex Wright started the match off with a kick to the stomach and an eye rag, and then McMichael fought out, or Mongo fought out and worked on Wright's arm before hitting a scoop slam for a 2 count.
Yep.
And then afterwards, Wright slid to the outside to regroup with Deborah, who tells him to get back in the ring and defend her, supposedly. In reality, She was all whispering in his ear saying, "You suck." Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Right?
Yep.
And then Alex Wright gets back in the ring, but McMichael grabbed him in a headlock. And then Wright fought out of it, and both men exchanged other submission holds in the ring, but neither man actually got the advantage. It was pretty evenly matched at this point. As we know.
Yeah.
It's like Wright did freaking lock freaking McMichael in a wrist lock and took him down to the mat with it.
Yeah.
And then Wright then stomped at his arm, but McMichael got back up to his feet and started working on Wright's arm. It's pretty much just a ballet cat game of back and forth at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, you do this hold on me, I'll do the same hold on you. That's pretty much how it felt.
Yeah.
Then Wright then hit some stiff uppercuts onto McMichael and continued to stomp down on the side of McMichael while he was down on the mat.
Yeah.
Then Wright then hit a shoulder breaker on McMichael as soon as McMichael got up, and then continued to ground McMichael with other holds and wear down holds.
Yep.
And then Wright came off the ropes, but is hit with an arm drag from McMichael.
Yep.
And then McMichael actually hit a scoop slam and a shot to the head on Wright. And then Wright actually fought back and started to climb to the top rope, only to get pulled back down to the mat by McMichael. And while Wright was down, McMichael started stomping on Wright and threw him into the corner after he got right back up to his feet. But as McMichael was charging towards Wright got his boot up into McMichael's face, thus reversing whatever move McMichael had in mind. And Wright then hit a clothesline.
Yeah.
But McMichael's fought back and actually hit a tombstone pile driver onto freaking Alex Wright. Who the hell does he think he is? The Undertaker? Of course, Deborah McMichael at this point was on the apron. She had the referee distracted. Goldberg came into the ring and hit a spear and a jackhammer to McMichael, which I don't know why the referee didn't see or hear it. He was literally right there, within inches away, like literally right behind him, hearing all that. But because of that, freaking McMichael was out, and Alex Wright pinned freaking McMichael to win the match after Goldberg placed right on top of him.
Yep. And he gets the Super Bowl ring from Deborah.
Yeah, and after the match, Deborah gave Goldberg the Super Bowl ring, and then Goldberg Goldberg attacked freaking Alex Wright, too. And destroyed him with a spear and a jackhammer.
Yep.
Your thoughts on this Alex Wright versus defeating Steve Mongo McMichael match as a whole?
It was... Yeah.
Fuck that. You're telling me the Mystery Opponent couldn't beat Goldberg? I know they would fight literally 2 months later at that Starrcade event, but seriously? This match kind of... I don't want to talk crap about either of these guys, but that match wasn't the best on this card at all. Of course, then again,
it would have actually made sense if it was Goldberg.
Yeah. I mean, of course...
Because it would have tied into where he wanted the ring.
Yeah. I mean, of course, in their defense, this match had to follow that Guerrero Mysterio match, so it was going to look lame by comparison anyway, no matter how well of a job they tried to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, this match kind of felt meh. It was there. It helped with the story, but it just felt like it was there just to be there. In my opinion.
Yeah.
Of course, we returned backstage where Macho Man Randy Savage was backstage with Elizabeth, getting interviewed and talking about how DDP is a marked man. And then afterwards, freaking Savage said he was going to celebrate with a big, bold, spicy meat stick later on. I mean, a Slim Jim later on. Right?
Yes.
Can you imagine if Michael Cole was the one of the commentators for WCW at this point? He would be saying big, bold, spicy meat sticks back then, like he does now.
Yes.
Yeah,
it would have kind of made sense because Halloween Havoc was presented by
Slim
Jim.
Yep. Yeah, and then Savage also said that Page once had a glimpse of greatness, and it fell to the side because Page wasn't up to par.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth said Page's best course of action is to leave before the match. And then Savage says he doesn't care about hurting himself while he was hurting Paige out there tonight.
Yeah.
Right. And then afterwards we go to what I believe is possibly the absolute worst match on this card, and that's saying a lot. Do I even need to review this fucking garbage that I'm about to speak of?
Yes.
Oh God, this is going to be a long one, and I hate you for this. I forgot this match even existed on this card, to be honest. And yes, I'm talking about the WCW Television Championship match between the champion Disco Inferno and Jacqueline in an intergender match. What kind of match was there? I mean,
what are you talking about? There was a match.
Well, there was a match within the last maybe 5 to 10 minutes, but before that there was really nothing to speak of.
It was just Disco Inferno running like a little bitch.
Okay, both made their entrances. The television championship was on the line. Both Disco and Jacqueline just circle around each other, and Disco decides to just keep keep going out to the outside to avoid Jacqueline at all costs. Because the storyline here goes,
want to be made fun of
And he didn't
literally
want to
right after the damn pay-per-view, he was literally made fun of for losing to Jacqueline.
And of course, he went back into the ring. And of course, that was short-lived because we went right back out. Jacqueline didn't even freaking hit a move, right?
Yeah.
And this keeps happening for some time throughout like the first 4 or 5 minutes. To the point where I'm like, come on, do something already. This is bullshit. Right?
Exactly.
That just kept dragging on and on and on. And of course, Jacqueline finally decides, oh, fuck this shit. And she came out after Disco and threw him back in the ring. It's like Jacqueline then hit a sunset flip for a near fall. I'm surprised she even got a near fall. I'm surprised Disco didn't say fucking just quit right there. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then... Oh, God. She for a near fall, and then Disco then hit a drop toe hold on Jacqueline before leaving the ring again. Sounds like something you would do on 2K.
No, but it's more like you.
Nope.
Yes.
And of course, Jacqueline gets back on him. Of course, Jacqueline went after him, got him back into the ring again, and hit a move before Disco continues to avoid any contact, acting like a little bitch. Right?
Yeah.
Then she chased him around the ring and get him back into the ring, only for him to retreat in the corner. Only for Disco to retreat in the corner again. Jacqueline finally had enough of this bullshit and finally got a hold of him and hits a kick to the midsection, followed by a fury of punches. Why am I even reviewing this bullshit? And then Disco slid out of the ring and told the referee, I'm leaving, I'm done. Like he was already trying to do to start with. But of course, Jacqueline chased him down to continue the assault. He runs back to the ring while she was in hot pursuit behind him, back in the ring. And then back in the ring, she takes him down and hits a shoulder block. Disco tried to hit a hip toss, but Jacqueline landed on her feet and throws him in the corner. Then Disco, the first piece of offense Disco actually had is he threw it out of the ring, but she catches his legs and crotches him on the post.
Yep.
And then Jacqueline then hit a vertical suplex on the floor before rolling him back in the ring. And then he crawls out to the other side of the ring, still acting like a total coward.
Yeah.
But she caught him anyway and got some shots to his head. And then she hit 2 clotheslines and came off the ropes with a DDT. For the DDT, right?
Yeah.
It's like on Disco. Then she climbs up and hits a crossbody on Disco. But Disco recovers it. Reverse it into a cover zone. Get a 2 count. She gets a shoulder up and rolls him back, and then rolls him up with the most devastating maneuver in sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up for the win.
The schoolgirl.
Or the schoolgirl surprise roll-up, whatever you want to call it. The winner is Jacqueline. Okay, it's safe to say that this match sucked. That's my feelings on it. What's your thoughts on this crappy match, if you even want to call it that?
Yeah, it sucked.
I've seen more entertaining Michael Cole matches than this abomination.
Oh, yeah, there's a couple more of his matches.
Why? Because at least Michael Cole wrestled back. Despite the fact we truly did not want him to.
Yeah, well, you didn't want him to.
Yeah, but, fuck. This match kind of sucked. This match kind of sucked, but let's get back. But let's just go to the next match before I lose more brain cells talking about it. It's already bad enough I have to give my freaking thoughts or my score on that one. The next match on the card was Kurt Hennig wearing Ric Flair's robe to the ring, taking on Ric Flair, who just sprinted down to the ring. And I hate to say this, you look at that footage closely of Kurt Hennig making his entrance, he's not carrying the U.S. belt, he's carrying the Cruiserweight belt.
Yes.
I don't know why he was carrying the cruiserweight belt. WCW already had the U.S. title. I don't know why the hell Kurt Hennig had the cruiserweight belt with him. And of course, that's just a minor detail in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't really matter because the reason these two were fighting is because of Hennig turning his back on the Four Horsemen the previous month at Fall Brawl 97, where he slammed Ric Flair's head with the cage door.
Yeah.
And that gruesome scene, yeah. And of course, as soon as Flair ran down the ring, bell rang, and then, of course, Flair tried to get in the ring, but freaking Hennig stopped him in doing so, pulls him out and hits some chops. And of course, Hennig pulled him out and hit some chops before both men got into the ring. Then Flair continued the offense with a shot to the head and a bump that sent freaking Hennig to the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then Hennig got into control when he started working on Flair's back. But Flair reversed him, chased him down, and hit him from behind. I think at this point, freaking Hennig got that damn robe off. And Flair put that robe on.
Yeah.
At some point before this. And of course, at this point, Hennig started walking to the back, but Flair chased him down and hit him from behind. Kurt Hennig was also a member of the NWO at this point. Just felt like I should let you all know that. And then Flair ended up rolling Hennig back in the ring and takes Hennig down to the mat before pulling him over and before pulling him to the ring, pulling him to the post. And then he wraps freaking Hennig's leg around the ring post before grabbing a chair.
Yeah.
But Hennig rolls out of the way, out of the chair shot, and he gets Hennig into the corner, and Flair gets Hennig into the corner again. Who still has that robe on. Sorry about that. I know at some point he takes it off. And pounds him on there. Of course, Flair pulls the robe off of Hennig and then puts him on himself. This was all within the first couple of minutes, by the way. That's why it's easy to get confused on these spots.
Yeah.
Then Flair hit a chop and starts to strut in his ring, the whole Flair strut.
Yeah.
And then Flair picks Hennig up and works on him in the corner again, and he sends him to the other side, but Hennig comes in charging out with a clothesline, getting the momentum back, stopping Flair's momentum dead in his tracks.
Yeah.
Then Hennig hits a neck breaker and starts working on the knee of Flair. They exchange blows back and forth before Hennig takes advantage by continuing to work on the knee. This was a story of Hennig working on Flair's knee here. And then he pulls him over and he pulls Flair over to the post and wraps his knee around it this time, like, you know, that move. Wearing down the knee of the ring post. God, the ring post taking so much abuse. Once Hennig got back in the ring, he started delivering stomps to Flair's knee. And then, of course, Flair tried to hold himself up in the ropes. And Flair tries him out of combat, but Hennig stops it and takes him down and takes Flair down again.
Yeah.
And then Hennig jams the leg and tries to capitalize, but Flair gets a thumb to the eye, reversing Hennig's offense. And of course, afterwards, they deliver chops back and forth until Hennig comes off the ropes and hits a clothesline. All right. Putting Flair down. God. It's like, yeah, then Hennig hits some shots to the head on Flair before picking up and chopping him in the corner. Hold on.
Yep.
Then Flair gets back up, only to be met with some offense, and it sent him to the outside. Sent him to the outside, overselling him going out to the outside on the turnbuckle that Flair's known for, the Flair bump over the rope. Yeah, then Hennig pounds on him some more on the outside, and then Flair tried to fight back. Right?
Yeah.
Of course, only for Hennig to stop Flair's momentum when he slammed Flair into the railing, and he rolls back into the ring to break the 10 count. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, but then Flair tries to battle back, gets Hennig down, but Flair gets on the apron, but Hennig drops him on the ropes. So pretty much Hennig was in control of this, stopping Flair's offense. Of course, Flair did start to fight back after that with some more chops and takes Hennig down with a shoulder block. Then freaking Flair comes off the top rope, but Hennig put him in a sleeper hold after getting Flair down off the ropes. And then after a while, Flair fights out and hit a suplex onto Hennig, and both men were down. Right?
Yep.
And then Hennig went to the outside. And then Flair's lying by the ring post on the outside with his head marked on the ring post, like right next to the ring post. That's where Flair was. Then Hennig went for the chair, and just like at Fall Brawl the month before, Hennig went to smash Flair's head with the chair there, but Flair got out of the way, which meant freaking Hennig hit nothing but ring post.
Yep.
And then afterwards, Flair goes to the outside and starts beating on freaking Hennig with chops and punches. And then he threw Hennig into the railing, and then he slingshot Hennig into the post and into the ring post. Ring post taking a lot of abuse here.
Yeah.
And once I got back in the ring, Flair continued the offense, right? Keeping Hennig down at bay. And Flair hit more chops and sends freaking Hennig back to the outside. And then grabs his quote U.S. title belt to leave. Hennig then grabbed his quote U.S. championship belt to leave, which we all know is that cruiserweight belt he had on his night. But Flair falls him to the outside and takes him down with a big knee drop, with a big knee into the back in the entrance ramp aisleway. And then Hennig hits Flair as he comes back to the ring, as they came back to the ring. And Hennig hit a high knee as well. And then Hennig laid the belt to the mat and then goes for the Hennig plex, or the perfect plex, but Flair reverses it into a suplex on the championship belt.
Yep.
And then Flair lays out Hennig to the trio roll and puts the belt around his head. And then Flair stomps on the championship belt and gets disqualified.
Yep.
Of course, after the match, Flair continued to stomp away on Hennig, and the referees came running down to the ring to pull Flair off of Hennig. And then other members of the NWO came out and helped Hennig out. Right? And pretty much attacked Flair. Your thoughts on this match?
It was okay for what it was.
Ugh.
It wasn't a Ric Flair's best match, but
It's like winning by disqualification. I understand, context of the story, though. So this pretty much signified the rivalry between the two wasn't over at this point.
yep.
Yeah, then Savage is backstage with the internet guys at WCW.com, and he pretty much just reinforces the fact that he will beat DDP tonight on this show.
Yeah.
And of course, Mean Gene Okerlund is back and is joined by J.J. Dillon, who was the on-screen authority figure here. Just back in WCW these days, just imagine, Triple H coming out as the authority figure here. That's pretty much what this was.
Yeah.
And Gene says he cannot believe Bischoff and Hogan were trying to get out of this match. And then, of course, Dillon said it was a tough year. And then Dillon says the match is going to happen no matter what. And Bischoff then comes out and says that Dillon has no stroke to make this match happen. Then J.J. Dillon pulled out a contract and says the match is going to happen no matter what. And Bischoff says he can't do this. And Dillon says if they see Sting tonight, it'll be in their nightmares. Yeah. And Dillon just leaves as Bischoff continues to lose his mind with Gene Okerlund here.
Yep. And saying that, if Sting shows up, they want Nitro.
Yeah. Next match on this card was Lex Luger taking on NWO member Scott Hall with six out there, better known as X-Pac.
Yep. Or Sean Waltman, which is his name.
And Larry Zbyszko was the special guest referee for this match.
The legendary.
Yep. And according to the storyline here, Scott Hall and Larry Zbyszko had their issues with each other, and this was just to continue their little feud instead of the two having a match against each other.
Again.
Yeah, and then Hall starts the match by mocking Zbyszko before Luger knocks him down to the mat. Then Hall gets up, and then Hall was able to recover, and he worked on Luger in the corner, but Zbyszko pulled him off after that 4 count, right? Both men locked up, with Luger using his power to get Hall to the other corner from one corner to the other. Then Hall was able to battle back and actually got a headlock on and worked and pretty much worked on freaking Luger against the ropes. And then Hall also gets a shot to the head, laid in a shot to the head of Luger while working on on Luger's arm here. It's like Luger fights out, and then Luger then was able to battle back and fight out and start working on Hall's arm himself. But eventually they have a rope break because they were too close to the ropes, right?
Yeah.
Of course, Hall then called for the test of strength, which Luger proceeded to start doing, only for Luger to get kicked in the midsection, right? The classic heel trope, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Hall put him in a surfboard submission hold, and he continued to work on Lex Luger's arm, bleeding that body part.
Yeah.
Which is kind of smart strategy, because if Luger's arm is injured, he can't put you up in the torture rack.
Yeah.
Of course, Luger did fight out, and he countered Scott Hall, but Scott Hall quickly got to the ropes, right?
Yep.
Then Luger climbs up to the top rope for the 10 punches on the Hall, only to hit 6 of him before Hall hits an atomic drop. Reversed it.
Well, he was going to hit it, and then Zbyszko, Larry freaking went in there and said, "Oh, you got to get off."
Yeah, and then Hall hit Luger with a clothesline that sends Luger down to the mat. And then Hall stomped on him and gets Luger caught up in the ropes and starts choking him. Of course, Zbyszko pulls freaking Hall off once again and actually exchanged some words with Hall before Hall came back came back to inflict more punishment onto Luger here.
Yep.
Hall then whipped him into the other corner, whipped him to the opposite corner, and followed that up with a clothesline and picked up a near fall onto Luger 2 count.
Yeah.
Then Hall picks him up and hits a fallaway slam and gets another 2 count. I mean, let's face it. I mean, yeah, any moves like that, it's just going to be a 2 count. Right?
Yeah.
And then Hall sends Luger into the ropes and gets a sleeper hold locked on the rebound, and Luger starts to fade away. Right? And of course, Larry Zbyszko did the whole arm drop. Luger's arm only dropped twice, right? Instead of the 3 times. That would have ended the match. And he reversed it before his arm could drop for a 3rd time, as he drops Hall with a belly to back suplex. At this point, both men were down. Of course, Hall slowly covered freaking Luger and got a 2 count. Yeah, and then freaking afterwards, Hall had exchanged more words with Zbyszko before he ended up kicking Luger out of the ring to the floor. Yeah, and then Hall slammed freaking Luger's head into the corner and continued to pound away, work on the head body part. Yep. And then Hall and Zbyszko have more words with each other. It's like, God damn, I know you're just like, focus on the match, right? Who cares about the special referee? That's what I'm thinking at this point. Yeah, but then freaking Luger lifted freaking Hall up and threw him out of the ring. Right? After that. And then Bischoff comes out in the ring and gets knocked out and goes up the apron, but freaking Zbyszko knocks him off the apron. Both men roll back in the ring and exchange blows with each other. Then Luger came off the ropes with a forearm, and Hall is now back down once again. And Bischoff gets back on the apron, but Luger is in control, stays in control, and he hits a few atomic drops and then followed up with another forearm to Hall. Yeah, and then Luger freaking signals for the rack submission hold, but Six came in and kicked him in the back of the head. And then Hall set him up for an Razor's Edge and covered him. And Larry Zbyszko, who was distracted by this whole thing, reluctantly made the 3 count. So the winner of this match was Scott Hall, and every NWO fan went home happy. But wait, that did not happen. Afterwards, Zbyszko suspected something was up and asked for the replay to be shown, which obviously showed Six interfering in the match, and Zbyszko said the match is going to continue. And as soon as Hall got back in the ring, it was like Zbyszko and Hall got into a shoving match, which led to Luger hoisting him up in the torture rack and picking up the win. Your thoughts on this match?
Was Luger's and Scott Hall's best match? No. It was... Yeah.
The ending was kind of controversial regardless if the face won or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, this match wasn't the best Lex Luger match. It wasn't the best Scott Hall match I've ever seen. In my opinion, the best Scott Hall match was his ladder match against Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 10. But, you know, that was Razor Ramon, not Scott Hall, but it was the same person, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, But after the match, Six came in, and Zbyszko put Six in a chokehold. But of course, the numbers game was too much with the NWO coming out, and they all gain up on him. And then Hall was holding Zbyszko up as freaking Bischoff kicked him in the head. And then Bischoff visually covered Zbyszko for a 3 count, which that wasn't even official, obviously. So, and that's how the whole segment ended. I thought the match was okay, but it wasn't the greatest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then afterwards, they did have a commercial for the next WCW pay-per-view at the time, which was World War III '97. Oh God! If you ever make me review that one, that's gonna be tough. Knowing the 3 rings and the 60-man battle royal, why they feel like they needed to have that, I don't know. Right?
Just because of the Royal Rumble for WWF.
Maybe. But let's get to the next match here. I think this was a semi-main on the card, and it was the Las Vegas sudden death match, which based on the rules translates to last man standing match. Basically, that's what this was, between Randy Savage and Diamond Dallas Page. Randy Savage had Miss Elizabeth in his corner. Randy Savage was also a member of the NWO. Right, at this point. And I liked how at the beginning, when they were explaining the rules, like, there's no pinfalls, there's no submissions, there's no DQs, there's no countouts. The only way to win is to incapacitate your opponent to where they can't answer a 10 count. So without even saying it's a last man standing match, they pretty much confirmed it's a last man standing match.
It was sudden death.
Yep. Sorry, but in wrestling, when I think sudden death, I think of pinfalls, not freaking last man standing, because that's usually what they call it.
Well, that's what it was before it was called Last Man Standing.
Yeah. So the match started out with Page sliding to the slide in the ring to start the action, but Savage slides right back out, and then Page comes out of the ring after Savage and gets some shots to Savage's head, but Savage then gets a thumb in the eye of Page and takes Page down. Here's a little note. Page was actually dressed in like street attire, but he had like his ribs bandaged up for this match. And then Savage took Page down with some shots to Page's injured ribs. And then he tries to throw him in. Yeah, and then Savage tried to throw him into the railing, but Page reversed it and sends Savage into the guardrail instead. And then he stomps down on Savage before getting him back into the ring. I'm sorry, but you're talking like really low. I can barely understand you right now.
Why am I talking low?
For some reason, you were talking like really low, like you had your phone away from you or something.
Yeah.
That's how it was at the end of that, but I'm not taking that away. Yeah, and then he stomps before finally it's like Page stomped down on Savage before getting him out of the ring. Savage recovers and throws him throat first on the top rope. And he has him in the corner and starts hitting him with punches to the head and to the midsection. And then freaking Savage ended up choking Page with his boot, but Page gets right back up and then Savage throws him in the corner for some punishment. Yeah. And then he hits some flurry of offense, and now Savage is the one that's now on the defensive side here with Savage going on defense. DDP has it. All right. And the DB sends Savage into the corner, but Savage gets his foot up to the face, and he takes Page down with a clothesline, and both men were slow to get up while the referee was counting. Page was the first one up and hits a swinging neck breaker and tries for the diamond cutter, only for Savage to get out and slide to the outside once again.
Yep.
And then Savage, or then Page hit a freaking splash to the outside after him, onto him, which is rare. Page don't usually do that. Yeah, and then Page gets some more kicks in, and he throws Savage onto the guardrail and rolls him up back into the ring. And Page tries to pick Savage up, but is dropped on the top rope and falls to the outside. Now Savage is the one in control. Goes up to the top rope, and he came down with a double axe handle onto the floor onto Page. And then freaking Savage clotheslines Page over the rail into the audience. Yeah, and then Savage then came flying in and with another smash. And then they're all working in the crowd, fighting each other in the crowd. Ugh. Yeah, and then they worked themselves up to the entranceway while hitting each other back and forth. Savage continuing his dominance in this matchup. And he tries to throw... Yeah, and then Savage tried to throw Page into the set, which... I like the Halloween Havoc entrance set, I'm not gonna lie. But Page reversed it and sent Savage into the tombstones instead. Then he picks Savage up and drops him onto one of the tombstones and destroys it on the WCW entrance set. Yeah, and then when Savage got up, freaking Page then hit him in the head with another like tombstone to Savage's head. And slowly Page got back to his feet. Right. And after freaking Savage got hit in the head, Dusty Rhodes lost on commentary saying, "You hit him with a cookie sheet. Or a cooking tray."
Baker's tray.
Or baker's tray, right? And I'm just like, Jesus. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then Page continued working on Savage with more shots, with more freaking like punches and kicks. And they started to went back down to the ring from the entranceway. And then Page continued kicking Savage towards the ring, and Page then throws him into the guardrail at ringside. But he tried to throw him into it, but Savage reversed it, and Page ended up going into the ring, into the guardrail instead. Savage reversed that, and then Savage started pounding on Page and threw him into the steel steps as well, thus injuring those ribs some more.
Yeah.
And he throws Page into them again, and the referee starts counting Page down, of course. Of course, Savage breaks the count and gets Page back into the ring because Savage wanted to deliver more damage. Savage took a camera from one of the camera guys at ringside into the ring, kind of like what we seen Psycho Sid do in that Shawn Michaels match.
Yeah.
And he went to go hit Page with it, but Page got back up to his feet and kicked it back in Savage's face, thus breaking the camera. And of course, while both men were down, Elizabeth came to the ring with a glass tray and smashed it over the head of the referee for some reason. I don't know why the hell she did that. It was no DQ anyway. Like, what's worse the referee's going to do? She can't disqualify anyone, so to me that made no sense. Yeah, and then freaking Elizabeth grabbed Page by his hair and started choking him with a camera cable that was sitting there. And then Kimberly Page came down to the ring. And Kimberly and freaking Miss Elizabeth started fighting each other at ringside, which resulted in Kimberly pulling Elizabeth to the back by her hair. Thus, meaning no more managerial interference in this match. Right? Then another referee, which was Nick Patrick, I believe, came out to the ring. And then Savage pulled himself up to the ropes and goes over to Page, pulls himself up by the ropes, goes over to Page, and both men exchange more shots or more blows. And Page did get one to the midsection and then hit a clothesline and an atomic drop on a Savage. Or Page, actually no, Savage was the one who hit Page with a low blow and a clothesline and atomic drop. And then Savage hit Page with a flapjack and then and then he hits Page with a flapjack and then signals for the diamond cutter. Actually, no, Page signaled for the diamond cutter. Page was in control. Jesus Christ, what am I remembering here? And then he goes to hit Savage with the diamond cutter, which is pretty much what you would see Orton do later as an RKO, just inverted. Yeah, he went to hit Savage with the freaking diamond cutter, but Savage grabbed the ropes and Page hit the mat hard. Thus, Savage reversed DDP's finisher. Savage climbs up to the top rope and then hits the elbow drop, which didn't look good at all, right? Both men were exhausted at this point, right? Then Page gets back up to his feet when the referee got to the count of 5. But Savage takes him down again before climbing up to the top to hit another elbow drop. This time it looked like that hit Page right in the injured ribs. And then Savage did get back up afterwards, but then Page then got back up to his feet at the count of 9. Just 1 second away. Right? And then Savage sends him in the corner. Savage didn't send Page in the corner. It picks him up, but Page accidentally kicks the referee. And then he hits Savage with the diamond cutter anyway, and both men are down. The referee was down. And then both men get back up to their feet at 7. Because the referee got back up 2 and started counting. And then Page went for another diamond cutter, but Savage sends him to the outside. And then when Page was on the outside trying to get back up to his feet, someone dressed in a Sting outfit came out to the ring and hit Page with the bat to the ribs and walks away. And Page couldn't answer the 10 count after that, which meant Savage won this last man standing match. And that's what I'm just going to call his last man standing match. Your thoughts on this brawl between these two?
Good.
I thought it was okay, but the ending to me fell flat. Right?
Yeah.
With the whole someone dressed as Sting, imposter Sting, hence the intro I said earlier. But if you think that imposter Sting was bad, that ain't nothing. Right?
Well, it was Hulk Hogan dressed up as Sting because they're like, oh, it's Hogan's boots.
Yeah, and then after the match was over, Savage got another shot in before Page was carried out on a stretcher. But even on the stretcher, Savage came and attacked freaking Page one last time. Right? While Page was on the stretcher.
Yep.
Thus indicating that their rivalry ain't over.
Yeah.
And speaking of a rivalry that ain't over, I really wish that this freaking event was over after that.
No. Sadly, your suffering has just begun.
We go down to the main event, which was first booked to be a WCW Championship match, and then it wasn't a WCW Championship match, and I think it was only done last minute like that, so Piper could get a win, which we'll discuss that later. And Hogan wouldn't have to drop the title, considering Hogan was feuding with Sting at the time.
Yeah.
And aren't you going to be happy when we cover that Sting and Hogan match at some point? Anyway, this is just a steel cage match between WCW champion Hollywood Hogan, the leader of the NWO, taking on Roddy Piper in a non-title match. Michael Buffer was a ring announcer for this main event match with his famous "Let's Get Ready to Rumble" freaking intro before the main event. And Hogan made his way to the ring, and despite being announced as WCW champion, Hogan did not have the WCW championship with him.
Because it was stolen by Sting and Piper.
Instead, Roddy Piper made his entrance, and he was the one in possession of Hogan's WCW championship belt.
Yep.
You know, the belt as we know now as the big gold belt.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, and this was in a cage match, by the way.
Yes.
And people call this old age in the cage. I think we know why.
Yeah, they were way past their prime.
I mean, Hogan was in his 40s. I believe Piper was also in his 40s, but their best years were like 10 years prior to this in the 80s. You see, this was the kind of match that should have main evented the first WrestleMania with the WWE Championship on the line instead of that tag match, but that's neither here nor there. It was a cage match, and both were past their prime here in WCW.
Oh.
It's like the match started with Hogan running around the ringside area, and then Piper came out and takes his belt off and started whipping him, right? With it.
Yeah.
And Piper bit Hogan and hit him with a bunch of punches on the outside of the ring because, despite being a cage match, there was enough like room between the cage and the ring apron for a little fight space. Just imagine a Hell in a Cell structure, but without the roof. That's pretty much what this cage was. Yeah, and then Piper slammed Hogan head first on the ring apron, which is the hardest part of the ring, before they both got back in the ring. It's like Hogan is begging Piper not to hit him, but that didn't work. Piper poked Hogan in the eye and followed that up with an atomic drop.
Yep.
And then he started punching and kicking Hogan in the corner, pretty much dominating Hogan at this point. And then Hogan ended up sliding outside again. Piper came out after him and pulls Hogan down off the cage. And I think the ways to win were by submission, pinfall, or escaping the cage. There was no referee in the ring for the majority of this match, right?
Yeah. Well, there was a referee that was outside. They didn't want the referee in the ring because it was a grudge match.
Yeah.
So they didn't want the referees to get hurt.
Yeah, and then freaking Piper slammed Hogan against the cage. Or slammed Hogan against the cage, but freaking Hogan reversed. Hogan fought back and slammed Piper against the cage as well. Right? Hogan took control and started stomping down on Piper, calling for the door to the cage to be open so Hogan could go for an escape, but then both men ended up going to the outside.
Yep.
And then Hogan slammed Piper against the side of the cage, and then slamming him against the door, and slamming Piper against the door here. And then Hogan picks him up and Hogan picked Piper up and dropped him on the guardrail afterwards. And then Hogan started walking away to leave the match itself and it was like, screw this. But then Hogan stopped and looked in terror, and the person he was looking at was somebody dressed as Sting again. Right? And this imposter Sting points a bat at Hogan as Piper got him from behind and started slamming him into it. Right? And then they got back to the door and back into the steel cage structure as this, quote, imposter Sting slowly walks toward the ring on the outside. Hogan and Piper continued to fight, continued their brawl outside of the ring, and they were slamming each other into the steel cage and into the ring. Then Hogan regains the advantage and hits Piper in the head, right? And then Hogan tries to climb up on the side of the cage, but Piper is right there behind him. And then the camera cut the aisleway where a second imposter Sting now stood in the aisleway. Like what?
Yep.
And they were both looking towards the ring, stalking Hogan.
Yep.
And then Piper and Hogan get all the way around to the top of get all the way up to the top of the cage before starting to slowly climb back down after brawling up there. And then Hogan gets Piper in the ring and takes his belt off, his weight belt off, and started whipping Piper with it.
Yep.
So he whipped Piper and then he choked him with, and then Hogan choked Piper in the boot with his corner after whipping Piper. And then Hogan slapped Piper in the face and started talking trash to Piper before leaving the ring once again. Then Hogan starts climbing over the top of the cage. Got to the top of the cage, and once he got to the top of the cage, he started crawling over, but one of the Stings is now waiting for him right there on the floor next to the cage. Which Hogan was then hesitant from leaving the cage. Then Piper climbed up, and he drug Hogan back to the top of the cage, and those two started doing battle on top of the cage. Yeah, one misslip, and it could have been history for either one of them. Cage was tall as shit, right?
Yeah. That's what they were saying too. Is that the cage, one misstep or anything, and they could be injured.
Yeah, and then a couple of more imposter Stings came down to the ring. One of them actually was spotted through the crowd. Right.
Yep.
And then Piper and Hogan continued fighting on the top of the cage. Then Hogan pulled Piper over and they start going back down into the ringside area. And then more imposter Stings started coming out, which I think the commentators telling like 6 or 7 at this point.
Yep.
Once back in the ring, Hogan smashed Piper in the head with the world title belt, and he continued to pound on Piper with Piper's head under the belt. Well, they said they pounded Piper on the head onto the championship belt on the mat, which you look back at that, he was just pounding his head onto the mat. There was no belt with it.
Yeah.
And then Hogan hit a leg drop and then tells the referee to get in the ring while he made the cover, which the ref did, and the ref counted 2, and then Piper kicked out. And then that's when Hogan called for reinforcements, his NWO buddies from the back. And then out came Savage, who climbed all the way to the top of the cage. And then Savage just jumped off the cage while freaking Hogan was holding Piper in place, but Hogan and Piper got out of the way, and Savage ended up hitting Hogan in the top of the head instead. Right? Yeah. Yeah, but in reality, it looked like Piper didn't even hit Savage didn't even hit anybody, but you know the illusion they were trying to do. Then after freaking Piper got rid of Savage, and then Hogan grabbed the championship, his world title belt, to try to do more damage, but Piper got Hogan into a sleeper hold, which then the referee checked Hogan's arm and it went down 3 times, thus making Piper the winner.
Yep.
And of course, after the match, Bischoff runs down to the ring, check on Hogan, and yeah, but then Hogan then freaking got up and continued to beating on Piper. One of the freaking one of the imposter Stings that followed Bischoff into the ring got wiped out by both Hogan and Bischoff and Savage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then freaking Hogan and Savage double teams Piper on the outside, and they actually handcuffed Piper to the side of the steel cage, thus putting a beating on him some more. And then a fan, which could be a real fan or it could be a plant. Hard to tell. I don't really care at this fucking point. Scaled the cage, climbed all the way into the cage, only for the fake Sting that was in the ring, who's at this point mask and wig fell off, held the fan back, and then Hogan and Savage realized this, and then Hogan and Savage both freaking put the fan in the ring and started beating the shit out of the fan too, while security was trying to take the fan out of the ring. It was just total chaos. And that's how the show went off air. Your thoughts on this main event between Savage or Hogan and Piper in the cage?
That wasn't that great.
I've seen better Piper matches and I've seen better Hogan matches. This did not click at all.
No.
Hell, I've seen better matches from the 80s, from old 80s wrestling where they were fighting each other. This main event kind of sucked, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, it was also JJ that was doing all the Sting shit to fucking antagonize Hogan and Bischoff.
Yeah. So, yeah. That being said, now that we reviewed this whole show, here comes our favorite part of the segment, our match rating system.
What do you rate the first match, Dustin?
Yeah, the first match, which was Yoji Nasata, whatever you want to pronounce it, defeating Ultimo Dragon, I give that, like... Nagato, whatever. I suck at names.
You suck at everything, too.
You suck at life. Wait, what? I'm just kidding. Anyway, that opening contest, I give it 3 out of 5.
I give it like a 3.5. It was okay.
Yep. Chris Jericho defeating Ghetto by submission. That one's on average. I give that about 3 out of 5 as well.
Yeah, I give it a 3, yeah.
Yep.
It wasn't long. It wasn't really short. It was just there.
It didn't outstage. Welcome, it was just there. All right. Rey Mysterio Jr. Defeating Eddie Guerrero to win the Cruiserweight Championship. Easily the match of the night. 5 out of 5.
5.5 out of 5.
Well, still same thing. Same difference. Alex Wright defeating Steve McMichael in that singles match. 1.5 out of 5.
A quarter.
I guess I enjoyed it just a tiny smidge more than you. Jacqueline defeating Disco Inferno in that singles match. -5 out of 5.
5 out of 5.
I said -5 out of 5. What the fuck?
I said 5 out of 5. I thought it was funny as hell.
So you're saying the Jacqueline Disco Inferno match is as good as the Guerrero Mysterio match. Is that what I'm getting?
Yes.
Yeah, I give that one -5 out of 5. Fuck that match. I never want to see it again.
I gave it a 5 out of 5 because it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, maybe for the comedy aspect, but the wrestling aspect just wasn't there. Kurt Hennig defeating Ric Flair by disqualification to retain the United States Championship. I give that 3.5 out of 5.
2.5. Not enough violence.
Lex Luger defeating Scott Hall in that singles match with Larry Zbyszko as a special guest referee. I had that controversial ending and shit, and interference spot galore. Just fuck that. I give that like 1.5 out of 5.
2.5.
Yeah. That pretty much sums it up. Our thoughts on that one.
Yeah.
Randy Savage defeating Diamond Dallas Page in what was built as the Las Vegas Sudden Death match, which was just, a last man standing match.
I give it a 4.
Yeah, I agree. I give it a 4 out of 5.
It was decent.
Yep. And Roddy Piper defeating Hollywood Hogan in that Age in the Cage match. 0.25 out of 5.
2.
Yeah, I give it freaking a quarter of a star out of 5.
I give it a 2. It was decent, but it could have been better.
Yeah. So with that being said, my personal final grade for WCW Halloween Havoc 1997 is a D. Yeah, D. I agree. It's a D. It's not F territory. I mean, there was a couple of hidden gems on here, but the rest you can just go without seeing, and you wouldn't miss anything.
One of them is the Rey Mysterio, but I'm saying that the other one was funny because Disco Inferno was made fun of for losing to Jacqueline, which was funny as hell.
Yeah. So to me, the matches I would recommend anyone seeing from this card is obviously the Mysterio Guerrero Cruiserweight title match.
And if you want to have something to laugh at, is Disco Inferno versus Jacqueline.
Do yourselves a favor and not watch Disco Inferno versus Jacqueline. Instead, if you want to watch another match that has violence in it, watch the Savage DDP match.
I'm saying if you wanted something funny, was to watch the Disco Inferno versus Jacqueline because it was funny as hell.
That match was shit.
It was funny. Yes, it was shit, but it was funny.
I'm hilarious.
You're not hilarious. You're not funny at all.
Go fuck yourself.
See, I'm funny.
Nah. Anyway.
Yes.
Anyway, that was our thoughts about WCW Halloween Havoc 1997.
Now, what are we going to be watching next week?
Next week, here on the...
God forbid I ask.
God forbid you ask. You made me freaking... You made me review a WCW show. I could do the same thing and make you do the same thing next week, but I'd rather take a break from WCW for a week, thank you, and continue on with the Halloween trend. This next week I'll be uploading next week. The next week's upload date will be the day before Halloween on October 30th at time of recording. So,
yep.
And I want to watch something that's really free. I want to watch something that's really violent and freaky here. And only one event comes to mind. I've been pondering this all week.
Heroes of Wrestling.
No, I'm not watching that abomination. I watched that abomination. I'm going to have to stop this series for a month. Which we don't want to do that. Oh, yeah. That'll scare us into submission. But yeah, next week on the review, we will be reviewing Armageddon 2006. The one that had that Inferno match between Kane and MVP, that 4-way ladder match, which is infamous for many reasons now.
Yeah.
That last ride match between Taker and Kennedy, and the world champion and W champion teaming up in the main event in a tag team match.
Yep.
So yeah, until then, we will talk to y'all later. Peace.
Deuces.